close your eyes. Let silence seep through your body like dense smoke, curling into the most hidden chambers of your mind. Somewhere in that silence, a voice stirs, not yours, not a stranger's, but one that has always dwelled within you, waiting to awaken. It speaks of a secret powerful enough to tear apart the fragile fabric of reality, to erase the lines between past and present, life and death. This is no myth, no fevered dream of the desperate, but a whisper hidden behind Vatican stone arches. Imagine there exists a device that does not merely observe history, but opens a door into its very heart. It does not sketch moments from speculation. It reveals them as they truly were, unfiltered, unpolished, raw. You stand before that door. Beyond it lie events that reshaped civilization. You can hear their breath. They are still alive, suspended in waves of light and sound, lingering in time's delicate folds. Can you meet their eyes? Will you dare to feel their agony? Now picture Golgotha, the day when the air thickened with the iron scent of blood and dust, when the sky seemed to collapse upon the earth. A moment where man and God merged in a scream that still echoes through the centuries. Will you stand there, not as a reader of ancient texts, but as a witness? Hear the faltering voice, feel the cold stone beneath your bare feet, inhale the scent of suffering that clings to the wind. There are those who claim this is possible. There are those who say they have already seen it with their own eyes. In the hidden chambers of the Vatican, a machine was born, the Chronovisor. It did not merely collect shadows of the past, it brought them to life. Its creator, Father Pellegrino Ernetti, was a man of faith and science. Exorcist, musicologist, scholar, he sought truth in every vibration of the world, in ancient chants, forgotten languages, and the recesses of his own soul. His curiosity was noble yet dangerous. It pushed him beyond the edge of what should be known. The Chronovisor became both his greatest secret and his cross. With each discovery, Ernetti sensed the device was not merely pulling back time's veil, but altering those who peered through it. For truth never arrives without pain. Today, I will tell you of a secret that was never meant to be unveiled. But before you step further, ask yourself, are you prepared to see the past unmasked? Are you ready to encounter a truth that might dismantle your reality? This is no story for the curious. It is an invitation, and beyond it, there is no return. Open your eyes. The world around you seems unchanged. Walls, clocks, the cold glow of a monitor. Yet if you look closer, you'll sense it. The fabric of reality trembles, like water in a bowl touched by unseen hands. At the heart of the Vatican, behind centuries-old gates, there lies a place where science and faith collided head-on, where some saw only stone walls, others felt the pulse of secrets too immense for human comprehension. The machine born there was no fantasy. It became the crossroads of humanity's deepest fears and wildest hopes. The Chronovisor, a device capable of denying time its tyranny, bending it to human will. Father Pellegrino Ernetti, a name still whispered in hushed tones, a priest with unshakable faith and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He sought no glory, only answers. His days passed among ancient manuscripts and Gregorian chants, his nights consumed by formulas, diagrams, and sound waves that seemed to breathe with their own life. Do you hear that rustle? It is not the wind. It is the past, unwilling to be disturbed. Ernetti believed sound and light never truly vanish. He claimed every tear, every word, every fleeting moment remained suspended in the ether, awaiting those brave enough to see. And he dared. By candlelight, beneath the watchful eyes of saints, Ernetti and select minds of the 20th century labored over the creation of something that should never have existed. Among them were Enrico Fermi, whose discoveries ushered in the atomic age, and Wernher von Braun, whose rockets reached the stars. Yet, even their brilliance dimmed in the face of the abyss they peered into. The Chronovisor became their window, but it was no cozy, romanticized view of history. It was a nightmare where every moment gazed back at them. There was no room for illusions. History, raw and unfiltered, proved a burden too heavy for the human heart. Picture a screen where ancient battles, prayers, and betrayals slowly awaken. Yet this screen is also a mirror, reflecting not only the past but the fears of those who watch. Ernetti began to realize the machine did not merely reveal images, it transformed the observer. Each who witnessed its revelations walked away altered. For the truth of the past, seen without adornment, is no knowledge. It is a weight. Do you still wish to look? Do you still believe you can bear the weight of another's agony? If so, listen on. For the story of the Chronovisor is only beginning, and its echoes still linger in corridors where the light fades faster than you can blink. You walk down a corridor where the air feels thicker than stone, and the darkness swallows every sound, leaving only the pounding of your own heart. These walls hold more than prayers. They are saturated with the whispers of secrets so old, their chill seeps into your bones. Here, truth is not lit by candles. It lurks behind them like a beast in the shadows. Deep within the Vatican, where none may tread without permission, a team assembled, names etched forever in the annals of science. Enrico Fermi, the man who split the atom and unleashed energy capable of consuming worlds. Wernher von Braun, architect of cosmic flights, a dreamer who reached for the stars. And among them, Father Pellegrino Ernetti, his soul balanced precariously between the light of faith and the abyss of knowledge. They came not seeking glory. They were bound by obsession, a single question. Could the shattered fragments of the past be gathered again? Could time itself be made to speak? Ernetti believed sound and light were the breath of the universe. He claimed everything ever said or done still exists, suspended in subtle vibrations of space. Every prayer, every scream, every breath, none of it lost, all of it waiting for one bold enough to listen and see. In the hidden laboratory's gloom, they labored through endless nights. Ancient icons on the walls seemed to watch their audacious attempt to peer into realms forbidden even to angels. Their instruments hummed softly, a faint glow suggesting time's breath had already entered the room. But what did they seek? Truth? Or proof that truth itself might be a fragile illusion? The Chronovisor began to take form. It was no mere device. It was a challenge to reality's very fabric. A screen that could animate scenes from the past. Antennae to catch the trembling voices of history. Schematics resembling alchemical symbols drawn by a mad monk's hand. You feel history's gaze upon you. It watches from the darkness, insistent, cold. And in that gaze lies a warning. There are things man was never meant to see. Each step the team took toward completion was shadowed by growing fear. One scientist murmured, "We don't know what we'll find there. But what if the past stares back at us?" A shiver ripples over your skin, because the question feels too real, because in these corridors there is no fiction. There is only truth, and truth does not always set you free. Imagine darkness giving way to a trembling light. It is cold, dim, as though the eyes of time themselves have opened within the laboratory's gloom. In this moment, everything changes. The air thickens like heavy fog, and each breath feels like a step into an alien epoch. The Chronovisor flickered to life quietly, almost modestly, yet within its glow hid a power no instrument could measure. This was the birth of an eye that could see across centuries. You see Father Pellegrino Ernetti standing before the device. His fingers tremble, not with fear, but with reverent awe. He is no longer merely a priest or a scholar. He has become a sentinel at the threshold, where the past ceases to be memory and becomes living, breathing reality. The team froze. Enrico Fermi clasped his hands behind his back, his gaze a volatile mix of wonder and dread. Werner von Braun averted his eyes, as if terrified of seeing something unforgettable. One engineer whispered a prayer, the words dissolving into the electric hum. The first signal was faint, a noise like the breath of an ancient city, the rustle of sand, a child's sob entwined with the chant of monks. Then shadows began to gather on the screen. They coalesced into images, columns, draped fabrics, faces too vivid to be mere projections. This was the past, real, alive. With every passing second, the chronovisor pulled them deeper. A scent seeped into the room, warm, metallic, like blood on stone. Someone claimed to taste dust on their tongue. Another heard distant screams that made their head spin. Ernetti wrote in his journal, "We have opened a window, but I am no longer certain it should have been opened." The machine did not merely display history. It shattered the boundaries of perception. The observers felt their bodies respond, hearts racing, skin prickling, dreams invaded by images they could not explain. They did not yet understand. The chronovisor was not only a window, it was a mirror. Each who looked into it saw not only the past but themselves, raw, unmasked, vulnerable. You stand beside them. You too hear the hum, feel the chill burrowing into your bones, and you realize truth never arrives without cost. It always demands its due. You hear a silence that brings no peace. It is thick, viscous, like oil filling your lungs. This silence lives within the laboratory walls, in the eyes of the scientists who can no longer sleep undisturbed. The chronovisor has begun to unveil its secrets, and with every new vision, something unseen shifts within those who dare to watch. They had seen Caesar crossing the Rubicon, heard the breath of the crowd during Socrates' execution. They witnessed the fall of Troy, where women's screams and the roar of flames felt terrifyingly real. Yet with every image came a growing sense that they had crossed a line where truth ceases to be a blessing. 2. One engineer, pale as wax, whispered tremblingly, "Every night I see their eyes. They look at me as though they know I'm here." His hand shook so violently he could no longer hold a pencil. Fermi, increasingly distant, seemed lost in thought. "The machine doesn't just alter our perception of time," he said one evening. "It distorts the essence of who we are. This isn't merely a window. It's a gate that was never meant to be opened." But Ernetti did not listen. His obsession had become a silent blaze, consuming the last remnants of caution. Again and again, he tuned the device, his lips murmuring prayers and formulas interwoven like some strange ritual. He sought not mere glimpses of history. He longed to see the moment that lay at the center of his faith, the crucifixion of Christ. "If we witness it with our own eyes," he once said, "all doubt will vanish. Faith and science will finally be one." But can a man gaze upon God and remain whole? You feel this question like cold steel at your throat. For now, even the laboratory walls seem soaked with fear. The glow of instruments has grown harsh, like shards of glass, and the scent of ozone in the air recalls storms that always herald disaster. In the darkest hours, one scientist proposed destroying the machine. It was not made for human eyes. We are playing with a fire that will consume us and everything we believe. But Ernetti's long stare held no anger, only a profound resolve. "Truth demands sacrifice," he said. "A shiver runs through your skin. Because you know, there are no longer any who remain unchanged in this room. They have crossed the line of the permissible, and beyond that line, there is no return. You hear a faint hum. At first, it seems distant, like the echo of wind in an abandoned cathedral, but with each passing second, it grows louder, more tangible, as if the fabric of time itself trembles under the strain of an intrusive gaze. The chronovisor was no longer merely a machine. It had become a presence with its own breath and will, and each who dared peer into its depths felt it. The first anomaly struck without warning. As the device displayed a medieval feast, one engineer clutched his chest and screamed. His pulse raced wildly, his eyes wide with terror. I hear them. They're calling my name. He fled the laboratory, leaving behind only the shadow of his fear. From that moment, no one could ignore the signs. Dreams turned to nightmares, filled with ancient tongues and faces no one could recognize. Fermi confessed he heard whispers even while awake, Latin phrases clinging to the cracks in the old walls. Werner von Braun spoke of air thickening like water, every movement sluggish, as though they were slowly drowning in alien time. But Ernetti, he stood unmoving, eyes alight with fanatical fire. He recorded everything, sounds, scents, the minutest details. "This is resistance," he whispered. "Time doesn't want to be seen, but we must continue. We have to." The team fractured, half begged to halt the experiment. "We're meddling with forces beyond us. This isn't just technology, it's a presence." Yet others, emboldened by Ernetti's zeal, believed that pain hid truth, and only the weak would retreat. You hear their arguments like a low thunder within your skull, but beneath their words comes another sensation, cold, primal, as though time itself had become a predator, watching them from beyond a fragile veil. That night, as the chronovisor flickered back to life, the room filled with a deep hum, like the roar of a distant sea. A figure cloaked in a shroud appeared on the screen. Someone exhaled, "It's Gethsemane." But as the shadows began to coalesce into the image of Christ, the lights flared and died, the air thickened, and everyone felt pressure at their temples, as though invisible hands were squeezing their skulls. Ernetti stood firm, his voice cold as ice. Truth always comes with pain. A shiver runs down your spine, because you know there's no stopping this journey now. They have entered a space where time's laws no longer apply, and the cost of every step forward may be too great. Imagine the world frozen. Newspapers lie across shop counters, their glossy pages bearing the face of Christ, ravaged by suffering. His eyes brim with both agony and peace. His body, contorted in torment, feels so real you want to look away, but you cannot. This image became a nail splitting the fragile balance between faith and knowledge. It sent tremors through churches and universities alike. Some called it a miracle, others blasphemy. Father Pellegrino Ernetti held the photograph in trembling hands. He neither smiled nor wept. His face was stone, the expression of a man who had seen too much. In that moment, he understood. No one gazes upon God and remains unchanged. People saw the photograph and fell to their knees. Others slammed the paper shut in revulsion. For some, it was final proof of truth. For others, the greatest forgery of the century. But deep within Vatican corridors, panic grew. The chronovisor was meant to be dismantled, erased from memory, yet the photograph slipped free as though truth itself demanded to be known. You feel the moment as if you stand within the crowd. Around you rises a chorus of voices, debates, prayers, cries of blasphemy and liberation. But above it all lies a cold, heavy silence, the silence of those who know. Behind this photograph lurks more than an image. It is a window flung open into the past, into the heart of human pain. Ernetti knew he had done the impossible, but he also knew the cost of this revelation was only beginning to unfold. His journal contained words that echo like a warning. Truth, seen unfiltered, does not set one free. It destroys. You look into the photograph. At first, it is only an image. Then, blood, nails, eyes flooded with infinite suffering, and then something more, a silence capable of tearing the soul apart. And you understand the world will never be the same again. Darkness once again descended upon the Vatican, but this was no natural darkness. It was deliberate, crafted by hands of those who knew too much. The corridors, where once machines hummed and whispered voices plotted history, were now empty. Only robed figures passed by, eyes averted, their footsteps echoing like reluctant confessions. Here, in the heart of the Catholic Church, began the operation to bury the most astonishing secret of the modern era. After the photograph's publication, the world split into two camps. Skeptics cried forgery, trickery, manipulation to bolster faith. Believers saw proof, raw, unyielding, that God had walked among men. But beyond the public's debates, something far darker unfolded.